Hello there and welcome back to another episode of the Trends Digest where we're going to take a look at all the upcoming games. I'm going to give you my personal picks for the weekend. Last week's double unfortunately became a single, but it was still a winner. Blackpool BTTS away at Bristol Rovers. In fact, BTTS after 20 minutes, really open game that one, Blackpool getting an important win. Another game we covered, which was BTTS as well, Leverkusen, they also get a shout out in this week's episode. They've got a very exciting game this weekend and they've been winning games quite late. Okay, let's get into it. First off, looking at some strong home teams. Now, if you use this tool quite a lot, the trends page, oddalerts.com/trends, if you want to check it out, it updates every minute. It'll show live games as well if they're on. And if you are frequently visiting it, you will see some of the same teams because, especially for the strong home teams and the strong away teams, they just keep winning, right? And Galatasaray PSV, I'm seeing them a lot. Whilst it is more than likely that they will continue their runs, depending on who they're playing, and looking at the odds, we've got 1.13 for Galatasaray on Thursday, and PSV, they're just absolutely walking away. I didn't know how else to say it. I mean, Ajax are in 5th now. They've got Henderson coming in the door. We'll actually take a look at Ajax. They do appear on this list a little bit down the page. But why don't we take a look at the second game here? St. Gallen, I think this is a Swiss, isn't it? This is the Switzerland League. So they've played 9, they've won 9, and they are facing a team that has won just 33% of games. So quite interesting already. They've lost over half of those 9 games played, so 56%. The points per game is quite average, 1.11. We can take a deeper look into this game, but something that stands out to me straight away is the goals conceded per game, 2.11 for Lugano, who are away at St. Gallen, who 1.75 isn't that bad. Let's take a look at the full fixture. So in we go to the fixture, St. Gallen versus Lugano, Sunday the 28th at 1pm, just after 1pm, 1:15. I don't know why I didn't just read that. I just shortened it to 1pm. It's not 1pm. It's 1:15. So unbeaten at home, as we can see, 27 points out of a possible 27. They are doing fantastic stuff. Are they the best team in this league? Well, you've got young boys in there as well, but they are second. Big game at the top for this team. They don't want to lose sight of young boys, do they? So we can take a look at the home form as well, just to confirm the fact that they have scored 2 or more goals in every game played, apart from the last game played. I've just done it again, haven't I? I gave you the time wrong, and I've just said that they scored 2 or more in every game except 1. So it's not every game. And it was the last game that they played, actually, but it was against second in the table. So Zurich, you would expect to be a little bit harder to score against. Just 1-0 there. If we look at the head-to-head quickly, they won the previous game, Lugano, which is interesting. Maybe that is a reason for the slightly higher odds than we might expect. 1.75, wasn't it, for the victory? And if we look at the probability model here, we can see we're going to get 1.75 points for a prediction, which will tell us that the home win probability from the Odd Alerts probability model is just under 60%. So actually quite in line with the bookmakers. It's always good to see that, that the probability model is close. It's better when you can find value bets, of course, where the bookmaker is giving the game a worse percentage, so higher odds on the bookmaker than on Odd Alerts. For Lugano, then, if we look at their away form, again, we paint the whole picture now when we start to look at the deeper form behind the trend. The trends page is a great entry point, as I say many times, into games, but you should never not look at the rest of a game or take a deeper look into the teams, because at the end of the day, if you're just betting for fun, that's fine, but if you're actually parting with your money, why would you do it without taking a little bit of a deeper look into the game, which can sometimes take a couple of minutes just to see the results? Not even that, 30 seconds. We can instantly get a feel for the team by looking at the away record. They have conceded quite consistently. They've conceded 2 or more, it seems, in quite a lot of games. But that last couple of games does show potentially that they're turning a corner. If we look at their overall form, they have been scoring goals recently, and I think that again plays into the odds here, 1.75. It might be that this, we started on the home wins section. That was the entry point on the trend section. But let's take a look at the odds for BTTS on this one. So BTTS 1.48. The bookmakers agree with my mind at this moment, having looked at very basic data, that both teams could get a goal in this game. So this one, what do you think? Would you add this to a slip? As we go through the trend section here, I will have a think about some of these games, and we will put together a double again. So this one, St. Gallen, potentially BTTS we could go with. Let's have a look at the home win in terms of the odds for the best that you will get, and it is 1.79 with 188 bet. So back to the trends page, and we will stick on home wins because there is another team here that has intrigued me with the odds, 1.5, and it's Atletico Madrid, who I've watched recently. I really like the way they're playing at the minute. They move the ball around very, very quickly. They've got some players in fantastic form, Griezmann especially, one of the best forwards in the world at the moment, I think, this season. He's been absolutely fantastic. And you can see here, Madrid unbeaten at home, and they're playing Valencia, who have won just 27%. They've played one more away game than Atletico have at home, and conceded 1.1 goals per game at home on average, Atletico, which, as a neutral, I'm not a fan, so I can't speak for the kind of transition of the football, but just a general football fan would say that is actually quite high for Atletico Madrid at home. So again, let's take a quick look at the full fixture and see if this is a game that is potentially worth adding to your bet slip this weekend. So we can see the records for the two teams here, and as we saw before, Atletico Madrid unbeaten at home, 28 points compared to the 12 away from home, with one extra game played as well. And the expected points, which comes from the XG on odd alerts here, expected points on the road per game, 0.97 compared to 2.31 for Madrid. So that is quite crucial, isn't it, in terms of making your mind up potentially. The goal difference as well, 12 compared to -5. Just to show you here as well, what you can do is you can look at overall form, and then you can look at maybe the last 5 games, and you can see how that changes, and all the stats update as you just flick through these as well, which is quite nice. So we can go last 5, and we can see that actually in the last 5 games, Atletico Madrid have conceded 9. There was that high-scoring draw with Getafe, wasn't there? Let's have a look at the recent results as well. 3-3 it was, that one. If you look at the overall form, they conceded 4 against Girona as well. So again, as a neutral sort of football fan, you would say this is unlike Atletico Madrid. At home, that record does get a bit better when you look at it. There are a couple of standout games. It looks like they were conceding a few more goals, or at least more consistently at the start of the season. They've got a couple of clean sheets in the last 4 games now at home, but of course there are those standout games where they concede quite a few goals, 2 goals, or 2 or more goals in a few games in the last couple of months. And if we look at Valencia's form as well, they have won the last 4 games, and they're unbeaten in 5, and that includes a draw against Barcelona. So they are seemingly turning the season around, you would say. Not a very good spell between early September and, well, the end of the year, to be honest. Just 2 wins in that sort of 10-game period there, but they have seemingly turned it around. They beat Athletic Club as well, Atletico Bilbao, that was a good win there. So 4 wins in a row for Valencia, and again, this just shows, why you shouldn't just look at one team's home form and the odds. The odds don't tell the full story, do they? They rarely do. This is still one, though. I still think Atletico do have enough to beat Valencia. This is one that I will contemplate adding to the slip, but at the same time, what I'm going to do is just set an alert on this game, and we've got this at 1.5 here from Bet365. I'm going to set an alert on that. Tell me if it hits 1.8. And at that point, I will just go in and look at the game state, look at the pressure. So I'm also going to take a look at the timing tab, because I think if I look at the timing tab now, I'll probably have a general sense. I mean, the alerts come with key stats as well, based on the markets that you've set an alert for. So they comes with a link directly to the game as well. So what I'll usually do when the alert comes is take a look at the timing tab. Because if it is the first half, we can see here, Valencia have scored 3 first half goals away from home all season. And in terms of second half goals, they have actually scored 1 per game. So they are much more effective, it seems. Certainly across the whole season, we can again look at the last 10, and it doesn't really change much. In fact, each of their 3 goals has come in the last 10 games. How many have come in the last 5 games? 1. Okay, so they're still not in any kind of great goal scoring form in the first half away from home at the moment. So as we scroll down here as well, half with most goals, 82% away from home for Valencia. That is probably a market we could look into as well, half with most goals. Now we're going to scroll down a little bit here to the BTTS section. You've got the strong away teams here if you want to take a look at that as well. But BTTS, you can see MacArthur here. We mentioned MacArthur on the previous episode on YouTube, and it was within the context of over 2.5 goals, wasn't it? And we can see straight away here, if we look at the averages, 3.71 goals per game and 3.29 for MacArthur. MacArthur, that game ended 3-1 as well, the one that we covered last week. That was quite a decent game, to be fair. And I think the odds were 1.7, was it? Or 1.75? So as we look into this one, we'll take a look at the goals first, because I think, for me, that's more what I'm interested in for this game. Very difficult to predict the result in the A-League. There can be surprises. The first thing that stands out to me here, Perth Glory conceded 2.29 goals per game. There hasn't been a 0-0 this season at home or away. If we toggle this to overall, it still stays like that, so there hasn't been a 0-0 between these two teams. Let's take a look at overall form as well. BTTS has landed in 79% of all games for MacArthur, 85% of all games for Perth Glory. So straight away, this one is looking good. Let's take a look at the odds for this one. I expect them to be low. I can't remember what they were from the trends page. So 1.45 is the best you're going to get. And if we look at the timing data, so both teams averaging under 1 goal per game. Both of these teams scoring most of their goals. In fact, a good chunk of goals in the second half. If we see and we scroll down, there hasn't been a 0-0 in the second half for Perth Glory all season. And in terms of second half goals, every single game has seen one, at least one. Actually, 92% has seen at least 2 for Perth Glory. So certainly a swing of second half goals between these two teams, and most goals in the second half, 77% for Perth Glory. So that's one to look out for as well. That's a market in its own right. Usually you can get over evens for that, and I think we actually have this on the odds comparison tool. Highest score in half, it can be called different things sometimes. There we go. And second half 1.95, so just under evens for that. You might want to put that in a bet builder potentially, and then go for some other lines in there that might be a little bit less risk. Add some cards into the mix, for example. And as we can see here, BTTS in the last 5 games for MacArthur, and Perth Glory. Wow. An incredible number of goals in games recently for Perth Glory. So straight away, this is what I'll do for a sort of game like this. We go to goals and we will set an alert on this game. 1.4 at the minute, for over 2.5 goals, as you would expect. Tell you what, just tell me if it hits 1.7. And then I will, again, come into the game and check this one out. So what are you thinking for this game and some of the ones that I've mentioned previously? What I want to do is I will put together a double for the games that we're going to talk about today, but I also want you to do it in the comments as well. Out of these games, you can only pick 2 lines from the games that we've mentioned. It might be that you prefer the half with most goals here at 1.95. It might be that some of you make a double from over 2.5 goals here, 1.4, and then something else that we've mentioned already, maybe a Atletico Madrid victory. But whatever it is, whatever you're feeling, get it in the comments and I will reply and respond to each and every one of you. And hopefully whilst you're down in the comments, you can just hit the like button and the subscribe button as well. Back to the trends then, and we're looking at the BTTS page, the individual page here, so we can see the home teams and the away teams. I'm just going to take you to Ajax because 1.56, I think that's not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not the best odds in the world, but if we take a look at the fixture, let me just change this, and we take a look at the actual rate of BTTS recently for Ajax. Now, they have turned things around. They're 5th, and they are at 15th, but if we look at the form of Ajax, they are unbeaten now since the end of October, and BTTS in the last 6 games. They've got Jordan Henderson incoming. He's waiting on some work permit issues. I'm not sure he can play for this game. Unknown. He might get it through. It's supposed to take around 2 weeks. He was in the stands for the previous victory on the 21st of Jan, that 4-1 victory there. And they're scoring goals now, Ajax. Look at them. They're sort of flying in terms of goal scoring. They scored 4, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2. So actually they've scored 2 or more goals in each of these games in this unbeaten run. So if they can just keep a clean sheet, maybe once in a while, but we might not want them to for this game. They are playing Heracles, I hope I said that right, probably not, who have conceded in every single home game played. So What do you think for this game? At top of my head now, I'm thinking maybe Ajax and over 2.5 goals. That way you kind of cover the BTTS anyway. If they win 3-1 or 3-0, you've got it covered. They are as low as 1.35 with some exchanges and bookmakers, and they are as high as 1.54 with Daffabet. 1.54, look, I mean, if you want to create a double that just gets over evens like I do sometimes, this is potentially a game you would take. Ajax, as I say, they're in very, very good goal-scoring form. So let's add this one to the list of games that we're going to contemplate to put in the double at the end of the episode. And again, let me know in the comments, let everybody else know, what would you pick for this game given the data. Let's take a look at the model as well, the probability model. So it is giving an away win 51%, so actually 1.93. I'm going to add that as a prediction on my account here. And if you're not familiar with predictions on odd alerts, you can add your predictions and rank amongst all the other users. You only get 28 predictions per game week, and a game week is from Sunday to Sunday, and each week the game week winner gets a free month of Odd Alerts Pro, so $12.99 credit added to your account. Yeah, if you play, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it makes you better at making predictions. That's the overall goal of predictions on Odd Alerts, to actually make you better at predicting games long term. Now, Bristol Rovers are there, aren't they, again? And they're at home again, and we had them in our video last week, and BTTS landed again. 1.67, it was 1.75 last week, I think it was. So you might want to take that. It's one that you could throw in the double. I won't go into every single game. We'll use the trends page and view the quick data as well now. So this game here, Sporting Charleroi against Club Brugge in the Belgian Pro League, 1.7 goals per game for both of these teams, slightly more goals on average at home for Sporting, but BTTS 90%, so they are scoring and also conceding. They've conceded in 9 of the 10 games, of course, and I said we won't go into the games, but I just want to check Club Brugge's recent away record, so let's have a look. Now, away from home, Club Brugge unbeaten in 3 games. They did have a bad spell, it seems, just generally speaking, but they are in form now, certainly since the turn of December, and quite a few clean sheets in there as well. So this is probably one I would not take, but, and you know what, no, I would just completely skip it, because the next step that I was thinking of there, how you sort of fall back to other markets that you know how to look for, would be the double chance. But the odds are just no way near it, and the bookmakers are expecting Club Brugge to win this game, 1.5. I just wouldn't touch it. I just don't think there's any potential in this game or any value. So let me know if you think something differently. If there's ever a team that has conceded too many clean sheets like that, and they've clearly turned a corner in terms of their form, say 2 months ago and now, then it's okay to just say no. It's okay to just avoid a game, and I think it's actually one of the most important things that you could learn in terms of football betting, is when to just look at a game and say, you know what, actually we just miss it, just skip it out. And that goes for accumulators as well. I mean, I say this all the time, but just stop putting on massive accumulators. That's just stop doing it, and you will probably make more money if you are smart about your decisions anyway. But if you're putting on 8-9 folds and expecting actually to make money long term with any kind of betting system, you're not going to, because the odds are so heavily stacked against you. So I've just gone to the over 2.5 goals trends page, Notts County. There they are again. We looked at them last week, didn't we? 1.7 for this game. They're at home again. They had a game called off in the week, and will they be refreshed? You can see there, 4.15 goals per game. They're playing Barrow, who themselves have seen over 2.5 goals in 60% of games. They've scored in the majority of the games they've played away from home, BTTS, in just under 70% of games. Now, they have conceded in 80% of away games. So, as we saw with Notts County, let's take a quick look into this game. And we'll just take a look at Notts County's home form. Are they conceding goals? That's the question I would ask. And we can see they've conceded 1.46 in terms of clean sheets in just 23% of games. So I'm weighing this one up for over 2.5 goals. And when you look at that form for Notts County, it is quite tasty, isn't it, in terms of over 2.5 goals. They've had a rest. They've had a winter break. I know teams never want to get games postponed, but it was Baltic last week. They were probably relieved, a lot of the players. For Barrow, they lost last week 3-1. That was after a 2-2 draw, then a 1-0 victory at home, 4-1, 1-1, 2-2, 1-3. So plenty of goals. BTTS landing in 5 of the last 6 as well. So that's quite interesting, given, there's just goals galore. What was it, 4.1? On average at home, 4.15. Overall, it's still 4.15. They've scored 60 goals overall, 35 of those coming at home. They've scored 2.22 goals per game, but they've also conceded 1.93. So this one's looking quite nice to me, to be honest. Notts County, I think, potentially reinvigorated by the little mini break that they had last week. So let me know what you thought about that Notts County game, and of course, let us all know in the comments which of these games would you combine with each other and which markets. And one of the games that I really wanted to show, just as we see PSG there, 1.53 as well on the trends page. Let's just take a quick look. This is a good thing about the trends page. If you do see a team, you can just click in and you can see that, Brest actually, they've only scored 1.11. PSG averaging 2.78. Can they demolish Brest? I guess that's the question. In terms of Brest's away form, they've conceded 2 or more in just 22% of games, so maybe the under is something to look at for this game potentially. I know a lot of people don't like betting on the under, it just irks them, but it's quite profitable, it definitely can be. And we're going to look at Borussia Mönchengladbach here, because this is a game that I've certainly got my eye on, Leverkusen against Borussia. Let's take a deeper look at this one. There's been epic drama recently for Leverkusen. They're still unbeaten. Late goals recently. We can see their form. Leipzig, we covered that game on last week's episode, and we knew there was going to be goals. That's how we covered it. It was on the trends page for over 2.5, as is this game. But the entry point was not Leverkusen. It was Mönchengladbach, because just look at the average goals there. 5.13. Wow. They've scored 2.25 goals per game away from home. Now, if we look at the home form of Leverkusen, they've scored 29, so 3.22. There is going to be goals in this game, you would feel. They've conceded 0.67 per game, which could put some people off, but for me, they're not playing teams like Mönchengladbach every week who score these kind of numbers away from home. The weird thing about this is they've scored 2.25 goals per game, yet won just 13% of those games. So I always, again, I find it interesting to look at the data before you look at the results. Sometimes you flick straight to the results because of the entry point from trends or whatever, but with games like this, if we now look at Mönchengladbach's results, you get what you would expect. High scoring games where they score a couple of goals. They've scored 3 goals here. They've actually scored 3 or more goals in 1, 2, 3, 4 games. They've scored in every away game, of course, and BTTS has actually landed in every single away game. Now, there was something else that stood out when I was looking at this game as well, and that's the timing tab. So if you just look at the first half goals, numbers here, there has been a goal in every single first half played away from home for Leverkusen and at home for Bayer Leverkusen. For Mönchengladbach and for Leverkusen. And the same is true of the second half. There has not been a goalless half for both of these teams, which is quite amazing for people that love goals. So for this one, I'm going to do a couple of things, to be honest. The first thing I'm going to do is set an alert on the goals so we can see. Well, first half goals, I'll set an alert on that. Let me know if it hits 1.8, because we've just taken a look at the insane data. Highest scoring half, incidentally, we can see the odds here. Tricky one, that, given that when teams score so many in the first half, you might be tempted to go for that. But as we just saw, it's literally both halves. So a tie could be interesting, to be fair. I've never even contemplated that. But for this kind of game, you never know. I would avoid that just because games can open up quite quickly. If there's a goal in the first half, Leverkusen they're flying. They might have scored late goals recently, and that's another reason to sort of not go with this selection, to be honest. So 1.4 for over 2.5 goals. We will say, let me know if that hits 1.8. And BTTS is 1.7, which is a bit higher now. I quite like this. 1.82 with Betfair. So yeah, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Leverkusen's games, they're always fun, they're always exciting, and those half-time stats are quite crazy. They've won 78% of home games by half-time. I'm going to now go to Bet365 and put together a double based on what we've looked at today. Let me know what you think about this double and put your own together based on the games we've covered. So my first pick is Notts County Barrow. I'm giving them another chance because it was called off last week, and I was very confident in that double. Blackpool, 25 minutes, it was 2-1 already, and Notts County, I mean, we took a look at the data, it's crazy, 4.15 goals per game, so 1.7 for over 2.5 goals. I'm quite liking that. Now let's get another selection in there. So here we are then, the slip, 3.15 this week, and I've gone with Ajax to win and over 2 goals. So as I mentioned on the game, I think we covered the sort of 3-0 or 2-1 outcome. And of course, we've seen recent games for Ajax, 3-1, 4-2. The goals have been flowing, BTTS in the last 6 games. So yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that double. Let me know what you would pick. Again, try and keep it a double if you have to. Treble, but I would not recommend it, to be honest. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any feedback, anything you want me to cover, please let me know and I will try and do so. I hope you enjoyed it and I will see you in the next one.